Hey there, TBD family. We know it's been a long while. You probably think we stay in Phelan. We are staying Phelan, but I got a mea culpa on this one. I had an out of town gig for a few months, and Etienne held down the fort, and I'm assuming
by doing nothing.
Well, but he worked
on the fort. Yes.
Yeah, with a widow's walk, waiting, staring at the sea.
I did briefly think about making like an update, like, "Hey guys, this is what's going on." But I figured that most of the listeners are already friends and family, so like they kind of knew what was going on.
Yeah, but figured we would address it up front. So.
Right.
Starting this new cycle together, in this new wilderness.
We are back in Blackish.
Yeah, ish. And are starting off with a film that both of us love, Time Bandits, by Terry Gilliam.
Hey man, Michael Palin helped write it too.
Okay, no, that's a good point. Gilliam directed it, but the two of them wrote it together.
Terry Gilliam directed, produced, and wrote it with Palin. It's definitely a Gilliam film. But, there was Palin influence, and this all John
Cleese is in a motherfucker. And I think that Palin also might have been on production. Like, he definitely wasn't, like, an executive producer. I don't remember. There's, like, 8 different producer roles, and there's a bunch of them where I'm like, this is, like, 5 different words for the same thing. So I have to be honest, even as a film buff, I'm not 100% sure what the difference is between a producer, a co-producer, an executive producer, a co-executive producer. I'm assuming that it's kind of like a hierarchy of producers and like people throwing money on it. But again, I have to admit a certain ignorance in that
It's
arena.
A little ridiculous when there's like 8 or 9 of the motherfuckers on a film. I'm like, all right, how many people do you fucking need?
Hey man, you need a lot of chefs for the soup. I mean, how else are you gonna not spoil the soup other than putting everyone's fingers
too
in
many
it?
Cooks spoil the broth.
Hey man, that's your lifestyle, not mine. Ooh.
Each chef brings one item to the soup, and we're gonna make the perfect soup.
This is what we got. We got 300 chefs. We got a big ass
they all
pot.
brought potatoes.
Oh, son of a bitch. Well, I guess we're making potato soup with potato ganaches and potato gnocchi and mashed potatoes on the side filled with potato. Stuffed potatoes. Stuffed with different potatoes. Well, I mean, actually, the Incas, I believe, had something like 800 species of potato. So you could actually theoretically have everybody bring a different species of potato and have quite a wide variety
not disagreeing.
Of vegetables.
And I could see blue potato stuff with fingerling potatoes. That could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
But there is definitely a layer of absurdity, which I think brings us back to Time Bandits.
Gilliam does have a touch for the absurd in a way that few, I think, writers and directors do. And I mean, all of the fucking the Monty Python's Flying Circus guys have a delicious touch for the absurd.
Right.
But Gilliam, I think, had a special vision of applying that to such an incredibly wide variety of subject matters and genres of film, which is part of why I enjoy him. And I was realizing watching the movie, I finished the movie about 5 minutes before you got here. I like doing that. I like having that rapid fire thing. I was thinking about doing it last night. My computer was fucking itself anyway, and I was like, you know
that's
what?
Great.
I'm just gonna do it in the morning. I like having it right before, so it's really fresh in my head anyway. And I was realizing, he'd also be a great one to do the director piece on, because he has such an interesting wide variety of films. You compare 12 Monkeys to fucking Brazil, to fucking Adventures of Baron Munchausen, to fucking Zero Theorem, and they are all completely nuts different films. But even just focusing on Time Bandits, the wonderful blend of genres and styles that he manages to hit over the course of it is just one of, I think, the delights of the film.
Yeah, because they explore these different periods, and each of them are very much their own thing, even though they're interconnected because of the characters involved.
Well, and everything that they do about each of the characters is showing you the flip sides, the realistic flip sides of people that exist. So it's playing up the ridiculousness of it, of course, because again, it's Gilliam and he loves the ridiculous. But that's why, you have Agamemnon, who's this person who's kind of a mixed figure in history, and he's super positive in his portrayal. But they also have the thing where the scene where he's talking about the prisoners. And Kevin is sitting there being like, oh, cool, there's this painting about the Trojan War, booyah. And he's like doing the thing in the background, and he says, all 3 are to be summarily executed. I'll be in the courts for the rest of the day. Tell the queen I still run the city. I realized that he's executing 3 of the queen's allies. Like, the dude who's at the front of the line of guys being executed is the, like, priest guy standing next to Clytemnestra in the previous scene. I'd never noticed that before until this watch through, and I was like, that's fantastic. They literally, he's like this great guy, and up until this point, everyone you've met has been just fucking terrible. Has just been god-awful, and he's the first positive person. But even then, he's holding up that mirror and being like, there is a dark side to every positively portrayed thing in history, and a light side to every negatively portrayed thing in history.
Well, and there's also the other thing with the whole power grab when it's like, oh yes, Kevin is now my son and the heir to the throne, and the queen just looks over at him like, all right.
Yeah. Well, and it's because it's the whole lead up to Electra, and like those events in Greek mythic history, because they aren't sure if the Golden Age of Greece was, it's like partially mythic, and a bunch of it is obviously crap, but like some of it, there's some archaeological, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, people have gone, like, looking for, like, the tomb of Agamemnon with, like, mixed results. No, it's here, I swear!
Yeah, which is also just something that gets to me, is there have been a bunch of those, like, archaeological finds where it's like, no, I swear, I know I didn't GPS tag it, and I know I've just spent $5 million of investors' money looking for it in this area where I swear I found it before, but you have to understand, you see, these ruins, bro. These crystal underwater pyramids. And I was like, you son of a bitch, like, just teasing me on Atlantis. Teasing me.
Oh, because we all want it to exist, Patrick.
Yeah! Dude, that'd be fucking cool. Like, sweet, like, mega subs from, like, 10,000 years ago. Like, how badass would that be? How badass would that be? Motherfucking find out that underneath the Sphinx is just motherfucking Atlantis sank into the desert. Not the oceans. I don't know.
Anyways,
I'm so sorry.
For those who are actually unaware of the plot of Time Bandits, it's about a mundane kid living in suburbia with
horribly
bland, boring parents, and
callously disinterested.
Yes,
like
very like cookie cutter, and it's basically the journey of like imagination and adventure that he gets sucked up into with these 6 crazy dwarves.
Who are essentially angels who helped God create the universe, and when he basically cited them at work for poor work performance because of creating a particular tree, they got pissy and stole his map of every hole in the universe and every flaw in the fabric of the universe in order to steal mass quantities of money from every time period. It's a wonderful film. It's truly a wonderful film. And as with a lot of Gilliam's work, manages to create that altered state of, like, all of his films manage to create these wonderful altered states where there's that weird kind of dream reality of the way that it shifts into this other world and then the way that it shifts back. But, of course, with it obviously not being a dream, because he's got the goddamn Polaroids at the end.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I almost view it as like a dream within a dream. Because, yes, he does have the Polaroids at the end, but there's certain things that happen throughout that makes you kind of question whether or not it is. I mean,
really?
there's the whole thing with, like, the Minotaur not striking him and, like, very specific, like, dream rules that I see going on. And, like, the ending is really zany and weird because there's the whole meta-ness of, you know, the wink from the fireman who was obviously Agamemnon, and like what the fuck happened to his parents and shit like that. Like, I don't know if we want to like go to full ending right now.
Well, I mean, we can do it later on because I've spent a lot of goddamn time thinking about that ending. It's one of my favorite endings in film because it is just the final fuck you of like, yeah, it's all about free will. And guess what? You get to deal with that. Because I'm taking the angels back to creation to keep tinkering with your existence.
Because you can't come with them because fuck you.
Well, because he's the chosen one who has to suffer.
he has to continue the fight. Yeah, there's that whole line.
Well, and it's the Christ allegory. Like, I love the Christian allegories and the way that he builds it throughout it, specifically in the different like depictions of God.
The supreme being. Do you mean God? Well, we
don't know him that well. We just work for him. I love that. But no, the fact that you have the whole first part of it, which is the lion's share of the film. He's this crazy esoteric being with like all of this power that's declaring things, and everyone's just terrified of him because he's gonna like bring the hammer down. And then he appears at the end after this like great climax where you have like someone who sacrificed themselves, and he brings them back to life and appears and is far more approachable. And he's still kind of an austere dick until the question comes up, why is there evil? And he starts being questioned more and more and more and more, and he kind of doesn't have answers, and he goes, good question. And he walks off screen behind the pillar and comes back and is like, it's about free will, and is way nicer for the rest of the conversation, but it's very short. And I think that that's supposed to be symbolism about essentially the way the Judeo-Christian God is treated in the theology. As you have this giant chunk of time, which is the Old Testament or the Torah, where God is this crazy, like, dropping, like, school buses from the sky. God. Yeah. Like, crazy, weird, esoteric being that they're trying to appease. And then you have the New Testament, the first part of the Christian churches being, like, super harsh and like, no, we're going to get rid of all the evil, clean up all the evil. And then at the end of it, him being like, no, it's about free will and you got to keep on with the fight. And it's the changing ideas across the course of it as well, in acting like it's all one continuity.
Right.
Which I loved as one of his little, like, man, fuck you, God.
Yeah, no, very much. Like, even when he was being nice, I was just like, oh. Because, like, I'd seen it before, so I knew everything that was coming. And I was like, all right, you could have prevented all of this, but you chose not to.
No, he needed to test his creation.
Right.
And he's, going to go back and make tweaks. And that's, the thing is, I actually like that as a depiction of the divine, not necessarily as the existent one, but I like it because it's not an unlikely vision of if there is some like seventh dimensional entity sitting out in space that is like playing with our universe and trying to come up with the correct version of it. This isn't a bad depiction of it, because at the end of the day, he's not like totally insensitive to like what needs to happen. He's just looking at the big picture, and the small people don't really matter because it's big picture. Sorry, Kevin.
The small people are the only ones that matter if you're talking to Napoleon.
Well, I mean, yes. That whole thing, which, again, just simply because of the time period, they don't have that whole data about, about the whole thing with Napoleon not actually being short.
Right.
Which is just depressing. Which, just for the audience, if anyone isn't familiar with that, that whole traditional idea of Napoleon being like the short guy who was like super like aggressive because of the fact he was short, like the whole Napoleon complex idea is actually based on the fact that the British and the French used different systems of measurement with the same names at the same time. So in French documentation, Napoleon was recorded as being 5'2", but that is the equivalent of being 5'7" in British measurement, which was above average height for the time. So he's literally become like this long-term joke, and based entirely off the fact that the British never learned the French measurement system.
I also like the whole thing with his hand, because he always has it tucked in all the portraits and everything, and you get to find out what's up with
it's the gold hand, and that just, I love when Randall just busts it out and just starts laughing, and he's like, seriously, like points at it and then like kisses the hand. And it's just, it's that irreverent turning of everything on its head to be like, these are the kind of weird little details that would get missed in history books, where like Napoleon didn't want anyone to know that his hand had gotten chopped off in his battle, because part of his whole mystique was that he'd never been injured,
unscathed
in a battle. He fought in the front line. He led every single charge for his entire career until Waterloo, and had never been injured in a battle. He was that badass. And it totally makes sense that he would have lost a hand and been like, no one can know. So gets the gold hand, mostly just keeps it hidden. At like state functions, he can put a glove over it. It's perfect. And I love that. It's like really well thought out backsides.
I do have to say, Patrick, and I don't know if you're going to be super happy about this.
Okay.
I didn't enjoy the film as much as I had previously. And I think because it's so engrossed in the world of imagination and what that brings and what that is. And I've lost a little bit of my childlike sense of wonder, that I didn't enjoy it or appreciate it as much this time around.
Okay. There is a lot in it that's about the like finding beauty in things and having that wonder in it. For me, I never lose that because of the fact that I grew up with it.
Right.
So, intimately, I mean, I saw it when I was like 10 or 11 and have rewatched it like countless times since then. I don't know. But I can definitely understand that taking away from it. And it's an element that I haven't had with that I haven't lost because of that. But for me, the primary thing that brings me back to that movie is not the wonder. Even as great as some of those wondrous moments are, like the hat on, the fucking ship hat on the giant, or the wall getting pushed in the first scene where they're getting chased by God's face.
It's never done that before.
Yeah, it's never done that. Like that whole thing, like the wonder of that is something that still hasn't left me. But it's the very cynical and very self-aware twisting of narrative to show you that many different narratives are equally true, moving through the same material. And that's something that I believe very deeply about history and stuff like that. And that's history and stuff like that. Where the fuck would I put it that way? What a miserable way to put that phrase. In history and in sociology.
Yeah, no, honestly, to me it feels like a children's movie with very adult themes and undertones.
Yes.
Like, there are way more things that I picked up on watching it now, because, like, the last couple of rewatchings that I did for the podcast were, like, the first time I'd seen it since I was a child sober.
Okay.
So I was looking at it very differently than I had any time before. And I enjoyed it, but, like, what I got from it was different. And honestly, like, I liked the first couple, like, narratives that they go through a lot more than the later ones. And it does start to lose me a little bit.
That I completely feel. Like, after you get past Agamemnon...
Agamemnon's actually where it starts to lose me.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. They definitely don't spend as much time on Agamemnon as I would like. And that was something I was thinking about, is that, like, if that movie was, like, 3.5 hours, I think it actually would probably be even stronger, because they would have had more time to explore those worlds. And there's a ton of other worlds that they don't address that they could also move through.
Right. That
would have helped, like, build the plot line of it. And I was even realizing that I think it would be impossible to do now, but that if modern television storytelling was happening back when this was made in the 80s, like...
having it be a serial instead of just a film.
Yeah, having this be like a 3-season long, like 12 episodes per season
I definitely
show.
Watched the shit out of it.
Yeah, like that could have been incredible for exploring all of the character arcs and the whole thing. Going back into who is like into Horseflesh.
Right.
Getting to meet Horseflesh, the history of the map, like the whole nine. I don't know, but I definitely feel you on that. Like the later ones don't take enough time, I think. And I feel like there was a lot of material that they cut for practicality's sake.
Yeah, like, I don't like at the beginning of Agamemnon, I don't like the battle with the Minotaur. Like, that loses me a little bit. And, like, I like the stuff later on, specifically dealing with the dwarves. Like, their whole, like, you know, ruse and, like, scheme to rob everybody, and that is perfect. I think it's the best that they've ever done it. Yeah. And I love that aspect of it. But I felt like other things in that specific narrative got shafted a little bit. And I don't know if it was time. I don't know if it was budget. I don't know what it was. But to me, that's where it starts to feel a little flat.
I can feel that. And I would agree with you. They don't really fill in. You have to have the background knowledge about Agamemnon, Clytemnestra, the whole situation with that in Greek history and in Greek literature to understand what's going on during that segment. And they don't go into depth with it. They don't build enough of the link between Kevin and Agamemnon. And that's very, very true. And I think that the idea is that because everyone else Kevin has encountered is so unpleasant, that at that point, the idea is that showing Kevin's comfort is, I think, supposed to show, like, the amount of time that has passed and, like, how their relationship has grown, but they don't really go into it. And they don't go into what's going on. But I also like the fact that they are super polished. Like, the thieves are super polished at that point. And my bet is that they went through, like, a series of other jobs, slowly making their way back to Mycenae to like pick up Kevin, because they're like, fuck, okay, we need to go through here and then here,
because
and
it's
then
not
here,
a direct
and then
route
here,
by any means.
and then here to get back to Mycenae. Well, we're gonna do jobs along the way, and they actually got their fucking routine down. And see, that's like a great like half-season plot arc,
right?
Like season-long plot arc that you could do. It's just, again, it's totally undoable now, because like I'm pretty sure, like I think 2/3 of the dwarves are dead.
Yeah, there's got to be like enough great little people actors that like it's still totally doable.
Okay,
like,
that's 100% true.
I love,
that's 100% true.
I love
just like
the original dwarves; they're excellent. And like, as weird as it is, like I really like seeing little people in the spotlight like that.
Yeah,
because it's something that happens like almost never.
Yeah,
and like, yes, you know, I myself am not a little person. I don't directly need to see them in things to see myself in things, but it's something that's so out of place that when you see it, you're like, hey, this is something that needs to be rectified. And all of those actors are great individually in their individual
they're all
roles.
fantastic actors and all had great careers like beyond that film. They kind of got like the who's who of dwarf actors in Hollywood. Like it's fucking awesome. But you do make a really good point in that, and also in the fact that they don't ever actually, like, they are central characters, but they do not ever actually address the fact that they are dwarves in the film. They just simply are what they are, and like it moves on. And I also love that that's also the depiction that they take of angels, is like them trying to take a humanoid-ish form and being like, okay, for sure, like this is the humanoid form that they chose and that they came into. And I don't know, I love that whole thing. I'd love more exploration of the other beings that God, the supreme being, created.
Right.
You know, total sideline. And if you had anything else to say on that topic, we could totally stay on it, but it just triggered something.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry that you're triggered. Go on.
It's all right. It's all right. I realized on this watch through that the like crazy screaming dead bull things with the like crook arm, the Fortress of Ultimate Darkness, and all the rest of that are undead versions of the same species as are in the little hut that gets crushed by the giant. Like, I actually stopped the film and was like, and like rewatched that little section and was like, no, their heads are the same shape. That's interesting. And like, yeah, the like heads and the bodies, the whole thing are the same. And that's, again, part of what leads me to believe, like, I think they cut out like a bunch of material from the end of that film. And again, I don't know. I looked into the production, but like, there were a lot of interesting little details like that I noticed watching it this time that were like, I've watched it since I was a kid so many times that like, I know it in like really, really precise detail, but I also haven't watched it as analytically every time, because a lot of the time it's also like, I'm feeling terrible, I'm going to watch Time Bandits. Yay,
I'm
awesome.
a child and everything's great again, except for the fact that there's shitty things happening in this movie.
Well, but I mean, it's the same. I mean, Perfume is one of my feel movies. There's a particular weird scratches that those or itches that those movies scratch. Or I've been like wasted and watching it because it's a great wasted movie. Like Time Bandits, just a
and like I said, that's
movie.
Like how I've watched it the last couple of times that I watched it before now. Like every time as an adult, I've been drunk because like the absurdity in it is taken up to like 11. Oh yeah, and you're just like, oh my god, what the hell?
Oh my god. But so I was watching, like, for specific little analytical things, watching through it this time, and I noticed a few more of those, like, little connectors, where I feel like Gilliam was like, shit, okay, what's the minimum I can do here to try and portray this little bit of this storyline that I'm cutting, because we don't have enough time or enough budget to make this happen. And Gilliam is luckily on, like, say, Bakshi or somebody like that, someone who's like, no, okay, we gotta actually, like, finish the movie. We gotta actually, like, do it. He's realistic. Okay, that's not true. He is good at practically using his resources, except for the film production of Don Quixote.
He's realistic about getting projects done the majority of the time, not the actual nature of his projects.
No, his projects are fantastical in the extreme. Right. Except for 12 Monkeys.
I also... part of me likes to think that the weird Titanic thing is in some way a spiritual prequel to the actual Titanic movie.
Oh god, well, because of the floating in the ocean on the door thing, like at the end it's shaped the same way as so many, Titanic.
And like the like awkward love story interspliced with the like everything else that's going on. Like I don't think that's actually true, but like in my heart it's true.
I definitely feel you. I definitely feel you. And I don't have as much. I probably would have more of that reaction because this time I definitely was like laughing, like they were on the door, like in Titanic. But I haven't actually seen Titanic in its entirety. I've seen like a couple of tiny little bits. So like,
that's fine, at least in my personal opinion. It's definitely something that helped bring movies into the mainstream fold even more, and it was a step forward for cinema in that regard. But it's not something that I personally enjoy it. I'm like, you need to watch this right now. I'm sure there are people out there that feel that way, but I'm not one of those people.
Near, far, wherever you are, you better watch Titanic.
All right,
or the
Patrick.
Purge go and get you. No, and you mentioned the awkward love story, like that couple, which is. It's really just kind of a mean through line in the film, but I really enjoy it as a perversion of the classic, star-crossed lovers thing.
Right.
And it's, again, everything in the movie, it's dealing with, like, how things get romanticized, taking away from the actual, like nasty realities of how things work. And I was like, this is so juicy. Like it's that perfect turning on its head of the star-crossed lovers, like we're going to be together, this pure innocent love, like that's perfect forever, but is based on all of this crap both times. Like what about your problem? Forget the problem, grab the money. Like, the whole nine. There is that love, but it's also always built on crap.
Right.
But that also would have been easier to see if there had been more than just the two iterations. Right. Which again is part of what makes it such a fantastic movie for getting wasted to. And while I personally have never taken hallucinogenic drugs and watched this film, I have a number of friends who recommend the experience highly. Not that is something that we either recommend or directly condone nor condemn here on TBD. It's
somebody
an
who
interesting...
has never taken hallucinogenic drugs, I can say that I wholeheartedly recommend the experience.
Yes. Something like that. Legal disclaimers.
Thanks for making it sound like I am a lying jackass.
Oh, yes! No, see, now the audience has to understand and guess whether I'm the lying jackass or Etienne is the lying jackass.
It's like that classic story about the two brothers and one of them's a liar
and one of them tells the truth.
Which way to go.
Of course, the problem is that they're both liars and they're just telling you.
Right. Or that both ways are fucked and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like the Samurai Jack episode, actually. It's one of my favorites, that little short, where he just gets screwed by the two snakes. And it's like, he never realized they were both liars. And then, that's the end of the episode. Oh, God. But yeah, that's us. That's us just shooting.
Just two snakes.
Sitting here lying to everybody. Snakes lying to the world. Yeah. Shooting mushrooms into our testicles. That's how the kids do mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
They shoot them into their testicles. Yeah.
Just take a tab of DMT, you're good to go.
Regardless, I'm sorry, I don't even know how we got on this line. I apologize. It's probably my fault. Returning to the film, I love Shelley Duvall. And she's somebody else we got to do on here because, I love Shelley Duvall's work. She was, by far the high point of the live-action Popeye. Obviously, her performance in Shining is fucking iconoclastic. I like her in absolutely everything I've ever seen her in. And I've seen her in 3 or 4 other things. I'm blanking on them right now, and it frustrates me.
For sure.
But, she's somebody that just taking a second out, just top-notch work. Miss Duvall, props. Wherever you are. Serious props.
Patrick's giving you the finger.
It's not the finger you think. Oh God, that could be misconstrued. I just realized giving the finger has so many other things that it could mean. Wow, I hadn't. Dear Christ, there's no future. Regardless, you know, I love her work in the film, and I think that every actor in the film gives it pretty much the exact touch that's needed. Oh yeah, even like tiny little bit parts, like "Here's a man you love to like, make a burger," who's hosting Your Money or Your Life, the worst game show ever conceived, and because that's the other thing.
I think it's an accurate game show, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's telling you the truth. That's the thing. They live in some kind of creepy-ass dystopia, too, where they have, like, you know, the Moderna Designs Wonder Kitchen Centerette. Right. Is not technology that exists. A block of ice to beef bourguignon in 8 seconds is not technology that exists. They exist in some weird, creepy, materialistic, like, near-future dystopia.
There's the dependence on technology in his family. There's the obsession with technology by the evil one, and how tech is going to bring us into the next age, and the supreme being just doesn't understand.
And I like that everything that the ultimate evil does, he can't actually create anything. He can only pull from what already exists.
But he created himself, Patrick. Nobody can take him down.
No, I am invincible and immortal. No, that's David Warner.
He terrified the shit out of me as a kid. I really gotta say, and like,
oh yeah,
like watching it now, it's completely absurdist, and like
He's
does not scare me
joke.
At all.
Yeah,
but like as a kid, oh my god, like
it's as a kid's movie, like it's gnarly. It's, like, really gnarly when you're a kid. And you watch it as an adult, and there's still a couple of gnarly things, like the dude tearing off people's arms and fucking Robin Hood's
I thought that was hilarious. And, like, completely, like, all right, guys, that was just a random, like, one-off joke.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? But, like, no, yeah, Ultimate Evil was creepy as shit. I used to so not be okay with the undead horn cloak reaper.
Right.
Shits. Like, the first time they came out, I literally would just be like, nope, I'm not looking at that shot. And I just
Tell me when it's over, mommy.
Well, no, I just knew the shots well enough that I'd be like, okay, I'm going to look away for like 5 or 6 seconds. All right, we're cool. All right, all right, we're here. Okay, and this is the scene where they all get blown up. Like, but that's the thing. Like, even the Fortress of Ultimate Darkness is made of Legos. Like, everything that the Ultimate Evil works with is he can't actually create anything. Right. He's just using what the Supreme Being has already created and trying to, like, twist it and make it bomb and be like, no, I made this. And I love that. He's so petty. The evil in that movie is so petty. As, like, true evil really is. It's petty and it's callous and it's not concerned, you know?
And we'll kill you later, Patrick.
it's possible. That's right, everybody. Etienne is secretly evil, and I'm mocking his way of life.
But it's so good to be evil.
Oh, I know,
God,
you know.
The conundrum.
Waking up in the morning and twirling your giant waxed, like, curly mustaches and figuring out how you're going to eat babies today, you know. Like,
they taste the best, Patrick. That's the thing you don't know.
Yeah, especially after you've loaded them into a cannon and used them to lay siege to...
I really want to make that movie reference, but I don't feel like enough people have seen that movie, so I'm just going to move on. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm curious.
I'll talk to you about it after, okay?
Okay.
It's a great film, and people need to watch it, and maybe we'll discuss it at some point.
Okay. Is it Babies on Fire by Brian Eno?
Yes, that's exactly it.
The film? Yes. The motion picture experience?
No, it's actually the life and times of Fat Bastard. People don't know that... That does not exist. Stop looking at me with that face.
All right, I was going to say, I'm like, my God, Fat Bastard got a solo film? Like, of all the people...
I haven't seen Mike Myers do a fucking movie since The Love Guru. I wouldn't put it past them to just make a Fat Bastard solo film.
Just to give the world the finger and maybe make like $3 million, like go back into retirement. Needs to refill the giant walk-in freezer that he has full of fucking ribeye steaks. Yeah. I mean, that's how I would do it.
Play them sad bagpipes just a little bit, you know?
Them sad bagpipes.
Yeah.
I like that.
They're very much a thing. So, the end of the film.
Yeah, we do have to get into the meat of this. Good. We still got about half an hour left. It's enough time to discuss the end of the film. an excruciating granularity and detail.
So you've talked about how you particularly enjoy it, and I mentioned that I thought it pointed back to A Dream Within a Dream. So I'd like to hear your stance on that first.
I had never thought of it particularly as a dream within a dream, and while that is possible, I think that the zoom out at the end is the biggest sign that is not what they were trying to portray with the film, because of the zoom out to the map rolling in. If it was just the dream within a dream, it like I could see that if it had just ended with Kevin in the street, or if there'd been some indication of another ending or something else. The wink from the fireman has always been an interesting thing for me, because there isn't an explanation for why they just leave Kevin there. But then again, we don't know how their weird, whacked out dystopia that they live in works in. What is the fight that Kevin is supposed to take on? If we're looking at this as the Judeo-Christian God, he puts people through these horrible trials in order to try and teach them something that they're going to need to use in the battle against evil or whatever. It's like the whole Jonah and Nineveh thing. Like, it's about teaching people this thing that they need to know so that... And so I could see that, or if it being something like the lump of evil that killed his parents basically wiped them out from the timeline, and he's left as like a loose end. That is something where... That, for me, is enough of, like, an ambiguity where, like, we don't know enough about the world and we don't know exactly what's going on there, that I'm okay with it being slightly ambiguous, but I don't feel like it's leaving enough of an opening for it to probably be the dream within a dream. Just simply because you have that specific reveal of him being like, wow, it was all a dream, and then pulling out the pictures and being like, but it wasn't a dream. And then having the zoom out that then supports that second conclusion. It would be a really weird thing to have that, like, oh, it was a dream. Oh, it's not a dream. And then clearly again go, no, it was a dream. But again, I don't know, because Gilliam's wacky.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on that part of it.
Yeah, I watched it twice within a 24-hour period to prep for this.
Okay.
The first time I was like, oh fuck yeah, that's what happens, and it was the remembering the plot and like him, you know, coming back to terms with things and seeing the pictures and going, no, that this is real. And I really felt that the first time. The second time through, I felt it was more a dream within the dream, because there's the whole first sequence when then there's like the reality break, and there's the whole scene with the knight and everything, and he comes crashing through the window. There's the whole thing about him talking about Agamemnon and like Greek warriors in the beginning.
And the characters that he runs into are the characters from this wall.
Right. There's a little figure of like Napoleon and shit on the ground too, and like there's a whole like meta thing of like this mess, clean up this mess. So I think that there's enough things that are from his actual concrete life as we first see it, that there's some sort of dream state potentially going on. And I don't think that it was ever meant to be concrete one way or another, because again, you're dealing with all these, you know, fantastical concepts and, you know, the world reality of imagination. Yeah. But that second time through, it was a concept that I think clicked for me. And I'm not saying that it was the way that it was supposed to be or the way that it was meant to be, but it certainly felt that way to me the second time I watched it in that close proximity.
That's a really interesting, and I'm going to wind up rewatching this in the near future again. I mean, I was going to watch it with a couple of people anyway, and just didn't end up doing it like 2 days ago. And so I'm supposed to watch it with them again anyway. I don't ever mind rewatching this movie again. So I'll watch it specifically with that in mind, but I'd always felt that whole thing relates to the fact that Kevin is a crux point. I mean, again, as much as God plays down the fact that he's important and is just like, oh, some kid, whatever, he's like, no, you're supposed to carry on the fight. Everything that was going on, God had planned. He had set up.
Right.
He literally set the whole fucking thing up as a test, which means that Kevin is a crux point. And if you take that in conjunction with the fact that when they first go into his room, they don't know where they are, and Randall can't find it on the map.
Right. No, I certainly see that, and again, I don't think that there's a finite answer here.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, the merging the mundane and the magic. Like, what is reality in that film is the greater question.
And is the dream state, here's another possible theory, the dream state itself is the catalyst which allows the time hole to open there. So like the time hole in the Time of Legends that you have to believe in that has these other like states. It's okay, you can just walk. Like, don't even worry about it. For the audience, that was my roommate walking past and very politely tried to be quiet, and us telling him he can walk. I mean, that's fine. But yeah, so just as an idea of what if it is that dream state that allows there to be that catalyst.
And you know the interesting
of them coming through
thing too with that is, again, looking at it and talking about it in terms of the context of Judeo-Christian mythology and everything else going on, and the transition from belief to reality.
Yeah, and what that does. And that it's also, this was an interesting detail that I hadn't thought about before. Everybody coming and going from the Age of Legends is brought in or taken out by the Ultimate Evil. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the one who controls the fucking lever. And that's, again, an interesting thing to me, that it's that transition of the belief into the real. You need the belief in order to make that jump. You need to be able to do it.
Right.
But that it's still the, like, celestial beings who are the ones who are flipping the actual switch and allowing it to happen. So at that point, Kevin has the belief, and God's like, okay, cool, time to test it. Route everything through this kid's head.
Right.
Let's run this. Ooh, yeah. Good server simulation. Yeah, too bad it burned out the server banks. Yeah, well, Kevin's parents don't matter to the timeline.
Well, I mean, they are bland and awful.
Yeah.
I mean, when your house is burning down, you're telling somebody that they should go back inside to save the fucking toaster. You're fucking
At least we have a 2-speed hedge trimmer. Who gives a fuck? Why do you need a 2-speed hedge trimmer?
Because sometimes you want to trim hedge fast, and sometimes you want to trim it slow.
You just want to do it leisurely. Like, what the fuck is the point of that shit?
Because you're enjoying the moment, Patrick.
They don't enjoy shit.
You are at one. You don't know that.
I do. I look into their dead, vapid eyes, and I see the face of evil, Etienne. I see the face of the enemy.
Ah, so they weren't so much killed by the concentrated pure evil as they were absorbed back into it.
They can't escape what they already are. You see, they are the evil. No. No, it's I think, again, that goes back to the pettiness and the banality of evil, because these are people who just don't care. They just don't give a shit. And that's kind of, I don't know. It's an interesting thing that's what is depicted as, like, the evil that Kevin is directly encountering in his world is just this kind of, like, callous, like, again, like, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about these people. Like, they're not even really watching Your Money or Your Life.
Right.
They're reading things and commenting on the commercials and then ignoring the show where this old man is being drowned in custard. It's also custard. And also they call it a souffle in the dialogue. I don't know why. I don't understand it.
Hey, man, there are far less delicious ways to die, and most of us will experience them.
Okay, that's accurate. Most ways of dying, I imagine, do not actually taste particularly pleasing. I mean, like, dying because you're being crushed by literally millions of pounds of strawberries slowly over the course of days would probably be a pretty delicious death, if an excruciating one.
I'm not sure how that would take the course of several days, Patrick.
Well, because it's being done by, like, people pouring the buckets of strawberries on
okay, so it started slow.
Yeah, it's slowly crushing you.
So you're at the bottom of, like, a huge vat, and they're doing bucketful by bucketful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's like 8 guys at the top who are all dumping buckets of strawberries on you. You can only eat so many strawberries.
Well,
Eventually,
what I would do is I would crush them and then turn them into juice and then swim out. But the chances are, depending on how big the vat is, that there would be too much buckets and I would get tired and then I would fall down and then I would drown in the juice instead of being
crushed. Well, but then again, that's your option there. You got to, I mean, free will, Etienne. You're getting the choice. Do you want to drown in the juice or be crushed to death slowly by the strawberries?
I
choose to drown in the juice. I will choose my own destiny. Well, no, but I mean, like, all I'm saying is it would be a more delicious death. Or it would be rather another delicious death in a very rare category, which is delicious
My
deaths.
death She would taste like strawberries.
Fucking pulling Goldeneye out over here, that creepy Sean Bean.
I'm sorry, I've been thinking a lot about Sean Bean over the past days.
Why?
He's dead? My muse.
Oh, okay, for sure. No, that makes sense.
I don't want him to fucking die. He can die in movies all he wants. Like, there was something too that I was thinking about specifically with like John Cleese. I fucking love John Cleese, and like with all the people that we've lost recently, and like this upper echelon that's reaching a certain age, like you know what's gonna happen eventually, but like there's all these people from my childhood that I just don't want to lose, and John Cleese is one of them.
Yeah.
There was an interesting thing that I was reading about the dwarves being parallels with Monty Python characters, and I don't know if I really believe it, but I thought it was interesting. And the other thing that I thought that like really kind of was questioning and a little off-putting to me is, of all the dwarves, the one that I like least was Randall. But he's the one that's equated to being John Cleese, who I absolutely love and is probably my favorite Monty Python member.
Interesting. I can kind of see that, but I don't know that actually Cleese would have necessarily played him if they were playing those roles.
It was basically like equating like character traits to character traits of the people in Monty Python, and thinking potentially that there was parallels there, considering
that's a weird,
Gilliam and Palin. Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily buy it, but it was interesting, and it made me like view them in a different light.
I can definitely feel that, and like looking at them from this other angle of analysis, that's something interesting. You could send me that link. I'd be really interested.
For sure.
And it's funny that you actually ended up going here, because I wanted to ask one question, since we're getting towards the end of it, and I think that this is a question that could take a little time. Well, yeah. Who's your favorite and who's your least favorite of the dwarves?
Wally and Randall. Wally's my favorite. Randall's my least favorite.
Nice.
I do absolutely love some moments with Randall though. Like the moment on Titanic when he's talking to Kevin is absolutely excellent.
Oh,
it's like,
so
we're
good.
The same, you and I.
We love adventure. We like risk. We like adventure. And ashes just directly on his hair, and it's kind of like, and literally just rubs it into his hair and keeps ranting.
And the thing with the bandits in the woods, when they're tied up and he's doing the whole like macho,
he's just gonna talk right to him.
I love that. Like, that scene is excellent. There's so much character in all of the dwarves, and like you see that like through the course of time, which again I think it would have been perfect for a serial, because you get even more of that. And like they are these 6 wacky, kooky characters, but they are very unique, and you grow to love each of them for different reasons. Like, at the end of the day, I still like all of them.
Yeah.
And I have my own reasons for liking all of them. But anyways, you asked the question, so I will ask a few back.
It's funny, because Wally is also my favorite, followed very closely by Strutter. I love Strutter.
Strutter is probably my second favorite.
Dude, that's great. My bottom, though, is Og.
I can certainly agree with that. Like, I feel a lot for Og, because he's the character that gets mind controlled.
Yeah.
He has to deal with it most, and like Og goes full hog at the end.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he was enjoying himself though.
Yeah, he was. That's the point that was made. But like, I don't know, like he ends up being a pitiable character, and I like him because of that.
I feel that.
He's not endearing on his own necessarily, but because of the things that happen to him, you feel for him.
I definitely agree with that. And he has some of the most interesting, he's actually engaged with what's going on in a way that the other dwarves are not. He and Fidget, I pair them in a particular way. You have Wally and Strutter, who are the doers. Mm-hmm. You have Fidget and Randall, who are the thinkers. And then you have Vermin and Og, who live in the moment.
I do really love Vermin. He's probably my third.
For sure. My third is probably Randall.
Okay.
Because no, my third is Fidget.
I like Fidget too.
Yeah. Fidget's excellent. But I like the Og has all these wonderful little moments where he's actually actively involved. Mm-hmm. Like when Napoleon finally passes out drunk, he's interesting. He was listening to that whole time. He was the only one who was fucking listening. The rest of them were all like, fall asleep so we can rob you.
Right.
And all of them are looking at like this bigger picture of like, oh, we're popping in all these timelines and stealing stuff and we're doing all of that. Og is actively involved in each situation that they're in. in a way that nobody else is, except for Vermin. But Vermin is mainly interacting to eat things. Yeah.
It was funny too because this is gonna sound really bad, but like watching the film, Vermin reminded me of Mike. Simply because they joke about Vermin always eating things, and like whenever you ask Mike if he's hungry, he's always like, "Yeah, I could eat," and I'm just like, "They are no way alike."
Eating. Yeah, no,
but there was a hilarious parallel to me.
That's really fucking funny. Don't eat that, Vermin. You never know if it's food till you've eaten it.
And Mike, if you hear this and you are offended, I'm sorry. If you've seen Time Bandits and you know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen Time Bandits, get off your ass and watch Time Bandits.
Yeah, like seriously, great movie. Just oof. But that's again like, I love. Oh, we haven't talked about the Me and My Shadow scene. The Napoleon little things hitting each other scene, which is just such a great, like, I love that shit. Like, that shit really, really, every time gets me. And Vermin's just, I'm not doing this. I just don't care. Where, like, the rest of them are all trying to do the thing, and Vermin's just in the back, like, fuck's wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
I just love that entire sequence.
Oh yeah,
Ian Holm.
The whole like stage manager guy being like, "All right, this sucks. I'm done. I'm lost. I'm dead. I'm just gonna hang myself." And then Napoleon comes in and is like, "That was fantastic. That's the best thing about this whole campaign."
And that, well, I just love the changeable nature of the manager, like the stage manager in that scene. Like from the point where he's trying to figure out an act and they haven't shown up yet, and he pulls out the pistol and he is about to kill himself, and then he hears the dwarves coming and hears their footsteps and immediately goes from about to kill himself to ready to kill them. And then is like, "Oh, we're good. Oh yeah, it's an act." And like that like immediate transition there, because those guys are in a bad situation. They are in the worst situation.
I understand that. Like I'm down to take my own life, but I'm not down to have somebody else take it. Fuck that. From just simply a principle standpoint, fuck that.
It's not right. It's not right. But no, I love him and his whole thing. Also, the detail that literally everyone in the circus and who's performing is wearing stilts. And it is specifically the thing that Napoleon hates.
Right.
And Napoleon doesn't notice.
Not one person.
I'm 5'6". But that's like, Napoleon doesn't notice they're on stilts. And that's always been an interesting thing for me in that, because I'm like, they are very clearly all stilted. Also, the three idiots. Like, I don't even know how they came up with that shit. I feel like, I don't know. It's also interesting for me. Just I can't help but compare this to Baron Munchausen. And again, we're not doing the Gilliam retrospective today. But it's interesting how he really makes his movies have companion pieces. So, you have the Dystopia trilogy, and those really all do hook into each other and are all playing on the same themes, which I finally saw the third one of. I finally saw Brazil, which was super cool.
Cool.
But the like two child adventure movies, it's really interesting how the two of them both manifest, and that one ends so negatively, but I think has a much stronger narrative and philosophical point, which is Time Bandits. And as much as I love Baron Munchausen, it's much more a fantasy exploration of like wonder and imagination and like what is possible with the imagination, as opposed to this like heavy thing about how God
hates us all.
Doesn't hate us.
No, I know.
We're just, we're just one of the cogs in his giant clock that he's trying to keep running correctly. It's like the straight deist deity.
Right.
Like, which is beautiful because I'm a deist, so that's, like, for me, I was like, that is perfect, and I love seeing that. Whereas in Baron Munchausen, there's just that weird, indistinct ending where you're like, what?
I will go to the Church of Time Bandits and I will worship. I am a Time Banditian.
Church of the Third Manifestation. First Evangelical Church of the Third Manifestation. I'd go to
You
that.
could probably get away with that as just a random name for a church. I don't think people would look too far into it.
Until they walked in and saw directly above the altar the giant face that every time anyone walks through the door just says, "Return what you have stolen from me." And every time you enter the church, you have to bring a map or $1. Because we all know that secretly dollars all have the map of the time holes on the back because the Illuminati are real. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place today. I've been going off on these strange.
I think we've all been kind of loopy, and this is our first one back. I mean, yeah,
all of us, me, you, Ted, guy with the hat, dude with no feet, guy in the corner whose head is rotating backward. Yeah, chairman. We have two. You've got to have both chairman and the invisible chairman, and then you also have to have the chairman and the invisible chairman. So, hey man, stressing certain syllables is...
Oh, no, I understand.
Significant.
And then flipping some things around like the invisible man chair.
Yeah. Oh, hey, we need to build one of those.
Yeah.
And the invisible chairman. Oh, no, man chair. No, that would be... So then wouldn't it be the chair and... Oh, wait. Oh, fuck. There's got to be more angles. Damn my brain. Damn my inability to start the day without whiskey. I'm kidding. I'm actually dead fucking sober right now and very unhappy about it because it's a long afternoon. It's been a rough week. It
has. That's the point that I was trying to stress without stressing that point.
Yeah. Oh, God. But, I think all around Time Bandits definitely, for me, earns an A. Earns like a 96. Out of 100.
That's your personal Metascore?
Yeah. Would be a 96 out of 100, And you can take that to the bank, order Rotten Tomatoes. But I doubt that Rotten Tomatoes will accept it, or the bank will be impressed in any way.
You're an official reviewer in my eyes. I think Rotten Tomatoes should accept you. I don't think that the bank accepts you, though.
Come on, just a picture of me on a piece of paper? Like, I'd like to deposit this, please. What?
This man has got insane. I guess we have to open up the safety deposit box, but I don't know why.
My time will tell. Well, see, that's all just casing so that we can come back with the time hole and, be international criminals. Also, the fact that they call it international criminals. So small scale. You're interdimensional criminals, guys. Don't sell yourselves short.
Through time and space.
But I love that implication that it really is. It's the whole universe. Like, that map is literally the whole universe. We are looking at this tiny little piece of this tiny little planet that they are Supermaning through. There is so much cool shit on that map.
Which, again, I would have lended it to being a cereal. But
yeah, it's also delicious with milk. Yeah, I think we definitely went the same direction on that.
But anyways, thank you for being with us on our first journey back.
Yeah.
And enjoy your adventures through time and space.
Remember, kids, take the long way home.
Take the long way home.
Oh, hell no! I ain't getting out of bed today. No way.